Bloodborne pathogens. Bloodborne pathogens are infectious microorganisms in human blood that can cause diseases in humans. Major bloodborne pathogens include hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV. Hepatitis B, or HBV, is the most common and serious liver infection in the world. Blood infected with HBV can remain infectious for up to 7 days. Most people do not have noticeable symptoms when first infected. Symptoms of HBV may include fever, fatigue, nausea and vomiting, jaundice, and a bloated stomach. HBV may cause liver failure. Hepatitis C, or HCV, also causes liver disease. Most people infected with HCV show no symptoms. However, symptoms may include fever, lack of energy, nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, and jaundice. HCV can cause cirrhosis of the liver and liver failure decades after infection. HIV can spread through unprotected sex with an infected partner or contact with infected blood. People may develop flu-like symptoms a few months after infection. Other symptoms of HIV may appear years later and include fatigue, weight loss, frequent fevers and sweats, and short-term memory loss. HIV can lead to acquired immunodeficiency virus, or AIDS. You can be exposed to bloodborne pathogens anytime you give first aid to another person. There were more than 3 million occupational injuries in 2013, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This means it is very likely that you will give first aid to another worker at some point during your career. Your company must train you on bloodborne pathogens and diseases and how to prevent exposure. Your company must also have an exposure control plan that outlines how workers will be protected from exposure. Bloodborne pathogens can be transmitted through blood and other bodily fluids. You can be exposed to bloodborne pathogens through ingestion, sexual contact, direct blood-to-blood contact, using dirty needles, or contact with mucous membranes and open cuts and sores. You can prevent exposure to bloodborne pathogens in several ways, including using universal precautions. You treat all blood, bodily fluids, and any other objects as if they are infected when you take universal precautions. Prevent exposure by taking advantage of available engineering and administrative controls. Engineering controls include using sharps containers for disposing of used needles, using mechanical devices to pick up contaminated items, and using self-capping syringes are also examples of engineering controls. Administrative controls include using proper housekeeping, sanitation, and disposal procedures. Clearly labeling sharps containers and not eating, drinking, or applying makeup in work areas are also examples of administrative controls. The last line of defense against exposure is to use PPE, such as latex gloves, safety glasses and face shields, protective clothing, and ventilation barriers. You can also prevent exposure by receiving the HBV vaccine. Your company is required to offer you an HBV vaccine at no cost if you can reasonably expect to be exposed to blood and bodily fluids on the job. The vaccine reduces your chances of infection. You can decline the vaccine or ask for it at a later date. If you come into contact with potentially infectious blood, bodily fluids, or contaminated objects, immediately wash the exposed area with soap and water. Also, report the incident and get a medical evaluation through your company. Protect yourself from bloodborne pathogens using engineering and administrative controls and PPE. Report any exposure immediately. Stay safe.